With the benefit of hindsight, most revolutions seem predictable. But even Tunisians are struggling to comprehend how President Ben Ali's 23-year dictatorship could have disintegrated in less than a month. On the 17th of December, in the southern town of Sidi Bouzid, Mohamed Bouazizi, a 26-year-old fruit seller, was stopped by a local official. Claiming he was operating illegally, she demanded a bribe.
كي هو حب يحمي الميزان نتاعو ما خليتوش وضرباته بزوز كفوف كي ضرباته بزوز كفوف محمد جاته كالشوك محمد جاته شوك قويه صدمه قويه برشا لوين عينيه دمعت وزراق ضرباته بكفوف معناها مراه امام الخاص والعام في كياس رئيسي.
No official at the town hall responded to his pleas for the return of his scales, and at 11:30 a.m., in a final act of despair, he set himself on fire. Ali Bouazizi arrived too late to save his cousin, but filmed the protest which followed on his mobile phone.
ندركوا تماما نحن اللي يلزم الإعلام يلزم نكسبوا الحرب الإعلامية لأنه احتجاجنا إذا كان ما يخرج من تونس راه ما يسمع به حد.
At 6:47 p.m., Ali posted the video on his Facebook page. In a country facing economic hardship, mass unemployment, and an overtly corrupt regime, Mohammed's story was symbolic of everything that was wrong, and his fearless but tragic act reflected the despair of a nation. Few realized it then, but the revolution had begun. The revolution might have begun, but there were few visible signs in the capital, Tunis. After 23 years in power, President Ben Ali had become a master of state repression. His feared interior ministry, the headquarters of a police state of more than 200,000 agents, dominated both the capital's central boulevard and the lives of Tunisia's citizens. Conversations were monitored, websites blocked, phones tapped.
يعني نظام يراقبك لمجرد أنك تفكر بشكل مختلف. لم نصل بعد إلى الالتزام وإلى العمل. بمجرد الاختلاف بشكل مختلف. طبعا أنا كمحامي يعني كمحامي كان في عديد من الملفات وكان عندي العديد من الحرفاء والعديد من الأشخاص اللي قمت بالطرف عليهم قمت بمواكبتهم قانونيا و تعرضوا لتعذيب لا يتصوره العقل يعني تعرضوا للحرق تعرضوا للتعليق تعرضوا للضرب بكل الأنواع تعرضوا للتعذيب بالكهرباء.
Despite the fear, beneath the surface an information war was raging, one no longer limited to activists and journalists. In neighborhoods across the capital, the revolution was spreading. What had once been social networking had become political.
It's more the users of Facebook than Facebook itself, because if it wasn't Facebook, maybe we should have used something else.
We started being a news service, each one in his house, the week before the demonstration started in Tunis, by sharing the videos of what's happening in other cities or far from us, and the television obviously didn't say anything about the events.
People might be sharing videos, but for most in the north, there remained a gulf between thought and action, and demonstrations in the capital remained small.
The great part of Facebook is didn't go to the demonstration. Every day, every time in TV, with press, people can't stop telling me that it is the revolution of Facebook, of internet. That's not true. Internet, Facebook, Twitter, they were logistic support. They were not the revolution, because the most important thing is that as a person, I click, I say, I click, and I go to demonstration.
Although demonstrations in Tunis remained small, the rebellion in the south was gathering momentum. In Gasreen, a town of 100,000, which shared many of the problems of Sidi Bouzid and had been the scene of the 1984 bread riots, protesters came out in support of their neighbours.
يوم 24 كان هو اليوم المفصلي في ولاية القصرين عندما خرجنا نحن المحامين في مسيرة تضامنية مع أحداث سيدي بوزيد. هذه الوقفة التضامنية والاحتجاجية كان لها تأثير على الشارع التونسي وعلى شباب ولاية القصرين، حيث نعتبر أنفسنا أن ساهمنا في تكسير ذلك الخوف وذلك القهر الذي يشعر به الشباب. منذ ذلك اليوم بدأت هناك تحركات على مستوى قاعدي من الشباب ومن التلامذة ومن الطلبة وإلى غير ذلك.
Dès le 24 décembre, il y a eu les premiers tirs à balles réelles à Menzel Bouzayen, à quelques kilomètres de Sidi Bouzid, avec 5 blessés graves, dont un est mort quelques jours plus tard, et un manifestant, un citoyen, un jeune, la quarantaine, tué sur le champ.
The use of live ammunition in the south provoked the first mass demonstration in the capital, and on the 27th of December, 1,000 people took to the streets of Tunis.
قلنا يسقط بن علي، قلنا يسقط الطرابلسية اللي هم عائلة بن علي، قلنا القضاء هو قضاء طرابلسية، يعني الشعارات التي رفعت كانت موجهة رأسا للرئيس وهي أول مرة تقع.
With protests on his doorstep, Ben Ali decided it was time for his personal touch. Mohammed Bouazizi might have been unable to gain access to the lowest official in Sidi Bouzid, but by the 28th of December, he had the full attention of the President of the Republic. As a publicity stunt, it was poorly staged, the supposedly concerned president appearing in his street clothes without a mask or gown in a sterile burns unit next to a man many believed already dead. Ben Ali's speech to the nation, made a few hours later, was to be no less misjudged. Ben Ali understood neither his country nor his people.
En disant, nous sommes les garants de l'ordre, c'est une opération, c'est un processus d'anarchie qui a été instrumentalisé par des agents de l'étranger, par des gens, des agents de la subversion intérieure que nous connaissons et qui a été orchestré par notamment par la chaîne satellitaire Jazeera.
It was like someone who were assaulting us, who were treating us like dogs. At this moment, I told my friends it's him or me in this country.
On the 4th of January, Mohammed Bouazizi's death, long suspected, was announced. The family was told to be discreet, but thousands attended the funeral the next day. Once again, the images spread, fanning out across the web in defiance of the state. A 20th century system of repression could not keep up with 21st century media.
Everything's going very fast, and all their repression system is slow. They tried to arrest people, and then they thought about, I don't know why, but it goes too much slowly comparing to how we get the information and share the information and share the idea and share the programs of the protest.
And every false information was straight, attacked or denied with a video saying this and this and this.
It would be easy to dismiss this as a phony war compared to what was happening in the south, but the regime was taking it seriously. The physical containment of the south meant nothing if every Tunisian became aware of what was happening there. On the 6th of January, the secret police rounded up several of the figures publicly supporting the demonstrations, including bloggers like Aziz.
Questions, 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 some threats, some horrible threats. They accused me of defacing, pirating governmental websites. When I went out the Minister of Interior, I was going direct to 5 years of prison.
Ben Ali recognized that people were losing their fear of his regime and knew he needed to remind them of how he had remained in power for 23 years. The place he chose for his lesson in terror was Qasreen, the town that had first brought him to prominence as the head of national security.
بدأت يوم 8 في القصرين، بدأت في حي النور، في منطقتي حي النور وحي الزهور، حيث قام أعوان البوليس التونسي بمحاصرة مداخل الحي من الجانبين. لكن الشباب أخذ في رمي الحجارة ورمي المقذوفات على ذلك البوليس لطرده من الحي، لكن عند الساعة 9 مساء فوجئنا بسماع إطلاق للرصاص الحي.
والنار كان إطلاقه موجه للقتل فقط، خاطر الإصابة الأولى اللي شهدناها وشهدتها أنا شخصيا كرئيس قسم الإنعاش هنا في القصرين، الجثث الأولى والقتلى والشهداء بالأحرى اللي وصلونا الجثث نتاعهم كانت الطلقات في مستوى الرأس، في مستوى العنق، في مستوى الصدر وفي مستوى البطن. لكن اللي تفاجأنا أنه الرصاص أو الخراطيش المستعملة هي خرطوشة تدخل إلى جسم المصاب، نجد على جسمه فقط أقل من 0.5 سنتيمتر منطقة الدخول نتاعها، وتنفجر في وسط المكان اللي تدخل فيه الصدر أو البطن أو حتى الدماغ، تنفجر وتحدث أضرار رهيبة جدا، وهذا ما تعودناش عليه.
الفرق القنص هذه الفرق الخاصة اللي قام البوليس التونسي بسحبها إلى ولاية القصرين قامت انتشرت فوق المنازل والمباني العالية ومناطق الأمن التي تكون بنايتها عالية. هي أن أرى شباب ولاية القصرين مقنوص بالرصاص وملقى على الأرض. ذلك المشهد الرهيب، مشهد رؤوف البوزيدي لا يكاد يغيب عن عيني للحظة، خاصة أني أعرفه جيدا كما قلت لك، كان مناوب عندي. ذلك المشهد عندما رأيته مرضى قتيل.
ما لقيناش أدوية كافية، ما لقيناش قاعة للعملية، معناها نبقوا نتفرجوا على المريض، وكانت الناس كلها تأسفت للمشهد هذايا، وخاصة مشهد حرب، هي بالفعل حرب وبالفعل مجزرة صارت في ولاية القصرين.
In Tunis, people listened in horror to calls from friends in the south.
أول ما بدأت أحداث القصرين والرقاب احنا تجمعنا في نقابة الصحفيين، فكان تأتينا مكالمات هاتفية من أشخاص مباشرة يسمعوننا صوت الرصاص الحي، وكانوا يصرخون، كان هناك رجال يبكون بالدموع ويصرخون ويقولون لنا إنها مذبحة أنجدونا، ونحن صحفيون أثناءها لم يكن لدينا أي خيار، لم نتمكن من الذهاب إلى القصرين لأنه تم إغلاق كل الطرق للذهاب إلى القصرين أو سيدي بوزيد. كان يمنع على الصحفي أن يتنقل إلى تلك الأماكن في تلك الأحداث، وحتى أن انتقلنا أين يمكن نشر تلك المعلومات.
There was, however, no need for journalists to process these images or newspapers to publish them. As with Sidi Bouzid, people in Gasreen posted the films they had taken with their mobile phones on Facebook. In minutes, they had spread across the world.
أعتقد أن هي مش ثورة فيسبوك، أعتقد هي ثورة القصرين، ولكن للحقيقة لولا الفيسبوك لقبرت القصرين على بكرتها بها ولقتل جميع من فيها بدون أن يسمع أحد، وهذا ما تعودنا عليه في السابق. الفيسبوك فتح الأبواب لما عرفت ما يحدث في القصرين، وأحدث إرباك لبن علي وأتباعه.
On Monday, the 10th of January, more than 20 men, women and children lay dead or dying. After Gasreen, there was no going back. Everyone appeared to be aware of this, except the president. That evening, he again addressed the nation. In what was to become a familiar refrain for leaders across the region, he admitted that mistakes had been made, but not by him. There would be change at the top, but it would not be him.
Mais en disant, écoutez, j'ai décidé de prendre des mesures, et notamment le limogeage du ministre de l'Intérieur, et de faire en sorte que les responsables de la situation ainsi créée rendent des comptes.
Like all dictators, Ben Ali could not comprehend that it was not about jobs, YouTube, Facebook, his interior minister, or even his rapacious family. It was about him. The show of force in Gasreen had backfired. Instead of being a lesson in terror, it had only served to show Tunisians the extraordinary bravery of their countrymen.
At this particular moment, I knew I will go in the street every day till I don't know what would happen. Maybe we all got shot, or maybe we finish in prisons, but I knew that something has changed in my life.
The day after the bloody events in Gazrin, protests broke out across the country. By the following day, Wednesday, the 12th of January, hundreds had become thousands. Ben Ali deployed his army, but unsure of their loyalty, looked to his trusted police force to save his regime.
يوم 13 جانفي هو كان اليوم الأسود في العاصمة، حيث تم إطلاق الرصاص الحي، وليس مجرد رصاص وإنما رصاص من قناصين محترفين احتلوا الأسطح واحتلوا الأماكن العليا، وصاروا يصيبون أشخاصا حتى من المرة، أشخاص مدنيين لا علاقة لهم حتى بالتظاهرات.
I went to the hospital to help the doctors there, and I saw people dying. I saw a guy shot straight in his heart while he was going back from his work home, and I saw the faces of people. I saw faces of nurses and doctors. No, we're like, what would we do if the people who are supposed to protect us are shooting people in the streets? At this moment, I thought maybe the country will change, maybe people will say no, definitely. So.
28 deaths and more than 100 injured were recorded in Tunis's central hospital alone. Many more were killed far from the main centers of protest.
بعد ما كملت الخدمة خرجت معهم في دورة معنا، جيت الشعب الكل معنا في المظاهرة، مشيت معهم ساعة في المظاهرة، فهمت معنا كنا نعيط المظاهرة يضربوا فينا غادي بالغاز، فهمت بالمطراق حافظوا فينا بالسيارات نتاعهم، فهمت قدامي جيت شخصين ضربوها، واحد ضربوه في قلبه، واحد ضربوه فهمت في ساقيه، فهمت قصوها له، فهمت لا رحمة ولا حد شك. سمعت اللي فما شخص ضربوها فين هنا في عينيه هو وخويا فهمت، لكن ما نجمتش نخزر له الشيء هذاك. معايا ولد عمي هذا شافوا كي ضربوه كذا معناها مشى ليه، بعد ما غادي باش عيط لينا وغادي هزيناه للسبيطار، وخويا ميت قدامي وانا ما عرفتش واش نهزه بالضبط، فهمت ودخلناه غادي بعد ربع ساعة مات.
As with Gazrin, this was an act of state terror designed to scare people off the streets and back into their homes. To convince them that they had to choose between Ben Ali and anarchy.
أغلب الشهداء كانوا إما في التظاهرات أو كانوا يشاهدون التظاهرات تمر من أمام البيوت أو بالطريق العام أمام المحلات، وهناك بعض الشهداء كانوا على أسطح البنايات، كانوا على أسطح منازلهم داخل أحياء شعبية لم تكن فيها أي أحداث أو اضطرابات، وفجأة يصاب شخص برصاصة من قناص.
But no one was calling for Ben Ali's help. Martial law was declared, and Ben Ali is reported to have given the army the order to shoot to kill, an order refused by both the commander and his men.
That was the moment of separation between Ben Ali and the army. The army just said no. The army isn't ready to provocate war, because if army shot at police officers or police officers shot at army, it would be a war that won't stop.
Without the backing of the army, even Ben Ali appeared to understand that he needed to make personal concessions. And in his speech to the nation that night, he pledged not to stand for re-election in 2014. He also abandoned classical Arabic in favor of the Tunisian dialect. He reminded the nation, as if it needed reminding, of his long service as president, his military career. He had been betrayed and let down by those close to him. He regretted the loss of life. There would be no more live ammunition.
Voilà la charrette de limogeage. Plus de cartouches à partir d'aujourd'hui. Et je vous ai compris. Mais c'était trop tard, heureusement.
It was surreal. People are dying in the street. We hear gunshot, and he's saying there is no more, we're not shooting at people anymore, I'm not responsible, and everybody's happy of me being in the government.
A nighttime curfew was declared and the streets emptied. An uneasy silence descended on Tunis, broken by sporadic gunfire. Rumours circulated that secret police had taken to the streets in hired cars. Pretending to be a spontaneous demonstration in support of the president, they drove around the city, terrorizing the neighborhoods that had dared to oppose Ben Ali.
He brought all his propaganda, keep in the street with rent cars and saying, "Long life to Ben Ali, we love Ben Ali," and they're shouting aloud. And at the same moment, there were shots in the street. At the same moment, I had his testimony on the phone. I was writing on Facebook saying there is people dying, and I really was afraid, and all of us were afraid, the 13 in the night, that everything's going to come back like it used to be. And I think this is what made people go in the street on the 14th.
A population which had lived for more than half a century under two successive autocrats had lost all sense of fear.
وكان في مسيرات خرجت مسيرات من كل صوب واحد. والشارع الكبير شارع بورقيبة هذا كان شارع ممنوع على المظاهرات، إلا أنه يوم 14 جافي كان في تصميم كبير أنه يقع اختراق هذا التحريم ويقع دخول إلى شارع، وذاك اللي تم. كان في أكثر من 70,000 ولا 80,000 متظاهر، واتجهوا رأسا صوب وزارة الداخلية اللي هي علامة القمع، وهي الأداة اللي كان الرئيس المخلوع يحكم بها في التونسية. هي آلة الترويع، هي آلة التخويف اللي كانت ترعب كل الناس، يعني أقبية الداخلية والتعذيب إلى آخره. التواجد أمام الداخلية واعتصام رهيب يعني موجود في الصور يعني أمام وزارة الداخلية هو اللي أنهى حالة النظام.
Political prisoners who had been released found a very different city on their return to the capital.
I was shocked. I was really shocked. At a certain time, I began to laugh and cry and dance and doing jam things and singing with persons and kissing other persons. And I felt at that moment, I felt that I had won.
At 5 p.m., the curfew again emptied the streets. The country had never seen anything like the events of Friday the 14th of January. But after 23 years, few could imagine a Tunisia without Ben Ali.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أيها المواطنون أيتها المواطنات.
At 7 p.m., a different face appeared at the presidential lectern. Ben Ali's Prime Minister, Mohamed Ghannouchi, announced the president's departure. For many young Tunisians, this was the country's true Independence Day.
Try to take your heart from here. Try to do something like that so the blood can't pass. After 15 minutes, do that. Let the blood pass and feel. That was the feeling at this moment. It's more than the liberation feel. It's I think everybody have to experiment that thing at least once in his life.
For those old enough to remember independence from France, it was no less emotional.
Et qui disent leur fierté d'avoir vu notre peuple, notre jeunesse, les mains nues, affronter la dictature et mettre à terre le dictateur. Je vous assure qu'il y a des moments où je me dis que je vis un rêve éveillé et qu'à mon âge et compte tenu de mes problèmes de santé, je ne pensais pas connaître de mon vivant cette situation.
Tunisians did not know it at the time, but their revolution was about to inspire protest across the Arab world. How much has really changed, however, remains to be seen. The symbols of the regime may have been destroyed and the contents of the houses and businesses of the corrupt elites looted and burned, but half a century of one-party rule will be far harder to erase. When the Soviet Union and its system of government disintegrated under the weight of people power a generation ago, Western politicians celebrated the seemingly inevitable victory of their democracy. The reality has been far more nuanced, and there is no reason to believe the future of the Arab world will be any more predictable. The future for Tunisia itself remains uncertain. Substantial political and economic problems persist. But for the first time in the country's modern history, this is a future which rests not in the hands of one man, but of an entire nation.